Excuse me.
Yeah, so we're live.
Okay, we are live.
Can everyone see us?
I don't know, mate. You're the one pressing the buttons.
Well, we've got a new camera. I find this camera's camera angle is a little bit skinny. Yeah.
Okay.
So we need to push it back a bit and get a better.
We need to get a couple of 60 frames per second jobs.
This is 60.
That is 60. Yeah. That's narrow. Okay.
This is the.
1 minute.
What's it called? You know my really good Logitech one?
Isn't that all that you checked there?
C92, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The one that I like, which I don't know anybody use.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I switched the cameras out. I'm going to take that one home because I don't really need it anymore.
Okay.
I don't need like the U-View one at home.
Right.
So.
Okay. Fantastic. That's awesome.
Oh, we have a person on.
Are we going to get a second one of those? And we'll sit there. Hang on. Talk about
I
that.
don't think you can actually get those ones anymore.
No.
So, just while we've got you here, the people in.
20 seconds.
Oh, you know what I forgot? That might help.
What's that?
The thingies across the bottom of the license.
Yeah, definitely do that. Right. Well,
You
we're
know how many
going,
copyright strikes that's got me out of?
we're going live in a few seconds. So mics are now hot.
No, they're not.
Edge Radio Australia, is time for the Greater Wealth. How are we there? We're all over the socials. We're all over the airwaves. We're all over the place. But the person who's going to bring us back, okay, back to terra firma here, it's Derek Whittaker, mate. Great to see you, mate.
It's great to see you.
Yeah. Look, I will introduce you eventually. Yeah.
Patience.
Oh,
Patience.
I have
Doesn't
turned your
exist.
mic on, though.
Doesn't exist.
You
So
just-
yeah. So the skinnier, the fuzzier, the hairier Travis is here. Yes, I'm back in the studio after what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
Has it been 3 weeks?
Okay.
It's been about that.
You had a break.
I've had a break. Okay. No, I've
A
missed
break
it.
of me.
Sure. Yes.
You usually took a couple of days off.
I did actually take 2 days off. This is amazing.
Mm.
I'm still trying to come to grips with it, to be honest.
So
But yes,
before
go
we
on.
get into it, because we have changed the camera.
Okay.
I do want to make sure that people listening at home can hear us. So
That's
if you
always
can
good.
just type a Y in the chat.
A
or
why?
whatever.
No, write a
Why?
whole
Because-
comment. Now, before we go any further with
doesn't
you
matter,
and
as
your,
long as
your
it's
tech
something.
issues, right? Let's get into the show because I'm actually really excited about today's show. Got some great subjects I really want to talk about.
I never thought you'd be excited about
Oh,
tax.
tax.
How's that for a segue? There you go, Derek. Get into
I
it.
am. No, I'm a
Go and go
passion.
piss off some
Stage
greenies.
3
Dum,
is
bum,
coming up on the tax
bum.
cut starting next financial year. He's been rolling this out over a number of years. The
Decade.
government, yeah, it's been like that. And the biggest change is to those in the brackets of earning between $45,000 and to $200,000.
So
right?
the main of the population of Australia.
That's
Yeah.
where most people
Yep.
make their money. At the moment in the current financial year, they are split, all right? So it's up to 18,201 to 45,000, and then it goes from 45,000 to 120, and then from 120 up to 180.
Yep.
And those brackets are high. The high end is 37%. The up to 100, below 120,000 is 32.5,
Okay.
and then below, so that's from 45. That most Australians are paying at the moment 32.5, and we're not including Medicare levies, okay?
Right.
And that's between 45,000 and 120 grand. That's all being scrapped as of next July 1. When it then, most people are going to be in the bracket of 45,001 to 200,000 and will pay 30% tax, which is lower than we would currently do.
Now, okay, normally talking about tax is really not the most exciting subject, but the reality is the main of Australia is going to be paying less tax. This is
Yes.
really, really good news. It's exciting. And I'm sure that the Labor Party are going to take full responsibility of how good this is, even though how many years has it been rolling out for?
Well, it was
13
it was
years.
staged
don't
to be at this point, so it's
Yeah.
not a surprise to anyone in
No.
the financial industry. What's fascinating about this is that one of the financial planners has jumped on social media and is talking about tax planning now,
Okay.
and a lot of people are reacting, oh, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting
No,
poorer, and
they're
I'm going, that
not.
is such socialist thinking. The
It
socialists
is.
are spitting the dummy.
You know what's really funny? You know what's really, really funny? So, like, we're going down to 30%.
Yep.
So, Vietnam's flat tax rate across all brackets is 25%, and they are a socialist country.
I know, exactly.
Like,
Here we are with a free market economy. It's going
Heck
really
off.
well, paying more tax than a socialist country or
Hmm.
a communist country. Absolutely ridiculous. People don't realize that in this part of the world, and when I say this
we
part
are
of the world,
taxed
Oh,
so
man.
heavily.
in the first world, again, I'm going to invert the commas a bit today. Okay, but in the Western society here, we are literally paying more tax. We've
Well-
got less freedoms than those in the East.
Well, look, put it this way, right? This is just income tax. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
not
yeah.
capital
Yeah.
gains tax, GST, sales
Payroll
tax,
tax, land
payroll
tax,
tax,
stamp duty.
all that stuff.
Tax.
Tax on fuel, cigarettes,
Yeah.
alcohol,
And-
all
Oh,
that
no, they're
stuff.
not. Hang on, they're not
And there's going to
taxes
be a
on
black
fuel.
tax soon as
Right,
well.
oh, yes, can't wait for
So,
that one.
Which
No.
one?
Black tax.
Oh, dear. I'm just,
Well,
yeah.
we've got rainbow tax, we've got red
Oh.
tape, blue
Yeah,
tape,
I
black.
noticed I just talked over him for that one. I was going to say, but yeah, I love the fact that when you get your fuel, they say, "Oh, we haven't raised the tax on fuel." No,
Bullshit.
it's tariff, mate. It's a tariff. Totally different thing.
You don't need
It's
to
just-
raise
it
the
is-
tax. It's a percentage.
Oh,
if you
look,
buy
a
it for
tariff-
more, the tax is naturally
Oh,
higher.
look, a tariff is just a
It
tax in a more expensive blouse, mate. That's all it is.
So this actual financial planner, I was listening to his video. It's quite long today, and it
Hmm.
was actually I like to give him a plug. It's at I am James Wrigley,
Right.
and he was talking about how in some situations, of course, you've got to get specific advice on
Sure.
this from a financial planner in this instance. But he was saying things like, for many people, if you are in a situation where you can pay things down this year, you're going to be better off than next year because
okay.
you pay more tax this year than
Right.
you do next year. So anything that's tax deductible, pay it this year because you've got more income coming in that's tax free.
Yeah.
Next year, or is paying less tax next year.
Mm.
He's also doing this in terms of like investment properties. He's saying if you can pay down in a lump sum
Mm.
more interest rates on an investment property this year, you may be better off the next year because
Keyword
may, and everybody's circumstances are different because you're getting more income from that property, which will be less taxed.
Sure.
So there's all these professionals are already starting to plan ahead for when July 1.
So
kicks
just to
in.
be clear, this is for personal income tax. It's not business income tax. Is it?
personal tax.
So it's someone who has their investment properties underneath their personal name really should go see a excellent financial planner.
They should.
Mm.
They should. And there's also situations.
So Derek can point you in the right direction. blueskyfactory.com.au.
We're not
Absolutely.
licensed financial planners, but we can.
No, so I said point you in the right direction.
We're in that network, and I have contacts. So there you go. Funny, I was talking to a financial planner just the other day. So
What a
the ti-
surprise.
Yeah, it's
timing-
called The
timing of
Wife.
that.
Oh dear. Oh
You've
dear.
missed me, haven't you?
Like a hole in the head, my friend. Tell you right now. Like the hole in your head that's been covered with that beanie. Let me
No,
tell
it's
you.
because I haven't had a haircut in like 3 weeks. Like my hair's so long at the moment.
Yeah,
I will
so
say
sorry.
though, for people who have trust funds and this sort of stuff as
Yeah.
well, this is a huge game changer, and this is what he's lining up because now this is if you don't know financial tax stuff,
Sure.
right? There's a thing that you can distribute called a bucket company. Good old bucket company.
I have never heard that term.
You've never heard of
No,
a bucket
no,
company?
no,
Okay.
no.
Well, a lot of wealthy individuals know how to distribute to what we call bucket
Oh,
companies.
that's why I don't know. Okay.
This, in some situations, changes the whole game because bucket companies are typically taxed at 30%.
Right.
But if you can distribute to beneficiaries of a trust at 30%, then why have a bucket company, which is lessening the need for all these extra structures. And of course, it's a headache getting money out of a bucket company for
Is it?
various tax reasons, the compliance reasons. So it can be.
So
can
it
be rather
may
fiddly.
actually simplify.
It
this
does
is-
simplify
okay.
a lot. So it's
Okay.
good for everyone from that perspective. So for those who are bagging it out, I'm going, well, you've got to get out of the mindset of having a capped income. Think of, you can make be set up, sit yourself up in such a way that you can make any type of income.
Well, to be frank,
which is
the
what a
ones
business
who
owner
are
does.
bagging it out are the ones who are
Centrelink recipients.
who are just relying on the system to provide for them, right?
and they're living in mum and dad's apartment.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
basements, and they're screaming with purple coloured hair.
You know what? Yesterday I was
And
talking
they
to
need a safe space.
They do, and this isn't it, right? Just so you know. But okay, I was talking to a young fella I know, 21 years old. Okay, just yesterday.
Mhm.
Anyway, he's trying to get he and his girlfriend are trying to get into their first house, and anyway.
Oh,
Wow.
you know my thoughts on this one.
Oh, well, there's so many. But in this particular case, right, they're looking and they can't find a place, like even places that are listed for $550,000. Now you think about that as your first home,
Mm.
over $500,000.
Mm.
But those that are listed for $550,000 are literally going for the people is saying, "Oh, look, don't bother offering less than 600. You won't get a chance because people are, the demand, obviously, right?"
Well,
So,
So
hang on, well, here's my point. This guy who's hardworking, who really does the right thing, all that sort of thing, is trying to be a great member of society. Is now going to have to. He's looking at small towns and commuting back into Perth every single day. Right now, we've seen this in the eastern states. We've seen this with people who live in places like Bendigo and Ballarat and stuff like that, where they have to train it in every day. So he's going to be driving literally over 3 hours per day, just to do his job because he wants to own a home. Now that is just
No.
wrong.
It's
That
like-
is just wrong.
See, this is where you can't compare the 1940s, 50s, and all that like baby boomer era to now because it's the saying I love is you can't fight the same war twice. So
Okay,
back in those days, everything was geared up for people to actually own their own home.
sure.
So now the property in Australia is so massively inflated, it's over the mark.
Yep.
Someone who's working 9 to 5, blah blah. Let's say he's earning $120,000 a year.
Okay.
So this is I don't know the situation, but it is the market is not designed for you to buy a house within the metropolitan area. That's just not the market anymore. So people have to stop thinking, right, I'll buy my own home first, I'll pay that off, and then I'll buy an investment property afterwards.
Okay.
That industry no longer exists. That just does not work unless you've got dual income, no kids, and
Sure.
no other form of debt. So
Yes.
a lot of the people with that sort of income will probably have a credit card, they'll probably have car
course.
finances and a whole heap of other stuff. They just cannot afford it. That is not what today's
Okay.
society
Okay.
is.
So then look.
So
hang on.
They've
So-
got to do what we did.
Right.
We did not buy our family home first. We actually bought it third. We bought 2 investment properties first and used the income from the investment properties to be able to buy a house in the metropolitan
Okay,
area.
well, that does make sense. Seeing a family home at the moment is renting for about $700 a week, right? Okay, so that does make sense. But where are you going to live in the meantime?
Rent.
Mum and dad's,
Rent.
right? Well, hang on.
Do you know how much rent is at the
Yeah,
moment?
I do
It's-
because we've
yeah,
just had
a
a
lot.
property evaluation done on our
Yeah.
Camillo place.
Right.
Mm.
It's look. There's a hole in the bucket theory here. The problem is exactly that. The people have got to have somewhere to live.
No.
They
There's
have
no
to have
hole in the
someone.
bucket.
There is a hole in the
People-
bucket.
The whole entire financial market,
Mm.
the legislation around owning a house and all that sort of stuff has changed. So people are living, assuming that their systems in 1940 are
Yep.
still current. They
Well,
are not current. They
it-
need to understand the laws and legislation that's
Sure.
currently happening now, and they've got to live their life based on the laws that are happening now. There's no point living in 1945 and expecting it to be valid now.
Why? We've got a country, right? Honestly, cutting all the crap.
Simple,
Where we have plenty of
because we
hang
have
on, we have-
Labor and Liberals keep changing the goalposts.
Spot on.
So they
Okay.
need to understand the current legislation, not the 1945 legislation. Sorry.
You've got a point, and I know if I'm jumping the gun, tell me.
No,
If I'm
go
putting
for
words in your mouth, tell me. We have got so much land in this country.
There
No
is
infrastructure.
absolutely no need.
No infrastructure.
Well,
No, I
okay.
disagree.
Well, who says we need the infrastructure? All right. This
we
is
need power, we need internet, we
Yes,
need water, we need
yes,
septic
but
tanks.
if you look at what's been
sewage.
happening over the last few decades, this is how real estate developers have gone. They're going.
Ooh, this is a good segue into the next section.
We're
too,
going to
by the way.
buy all this land. It is.
Mm.
We're going to buy all this land, right? And then we're going to put big parks that everybody shares, and they're
Yep.
manicured gardens and this sort of stuff, and we'll all live this way. They're not sustainable,
No.
Mhm.
right?
Correct.
They are not financially viable anymore. And if you could, because people think, oh, I'm getting all this and I don't have to pay for it. You are paying for it through your council rates,
Of course you are.
through
just that.
being on the sewage line, on
Mhm.
and all this stuff. It's all inbuilt in
Oh,
the
I
cost of doing
love
that.
Do you know
Right.
what you're also paying
I'm not
for?
put
Because
this-
your block of land
sorry.
is so small.
The-
Like when I grew up, we could play cricket in my backyard,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
See, we played in the street and we smashed people's windows.
Well,
Like,
that's why
whatever
you're so
happened to
popular.
the
right?
time when, like, this is one thing I love about my street, and this is why we'll never sell the house that we got in Camillo. We have kids barefoot and running up and down the street until like the lights are on and everything like that,
Yep.
because all the parents know each other. We actually talk to each other. We actually have a 1950s family.
Now,
like, street.
I'm going to interrupt
It's
you.
really rare.
I'm going to interrupt you. I've been to his house, which is terrifying itself. No, that's it. In as much as honestly, you drive into that street and it's 1985, and
Yeah,
I love
There's
it.
kids
I love
everywhere.
it. It is exactly how we grew up, where kids could ride their bikes, get their skates on, whatever they
Mm.
want to do, play games. It is an absolutely
I,
magnificent. thing.
half the time I don't know where the
Um,
kids are because I know they're either at the Extinction Rebellion
Yep.
house or at the house down the end of the street where they do a lot of welfare work
Sure.
with people with drug addiction problems, stuff like that. So Tim and Steph, amazing people. could be next door with Arthur and Ramona, who are like the 70-year-old grandparents. They just want to, they'll help you with anything on the one condition.
Yeah.
You've got to learn how to do it yourself.
Ah, I like that.
So
I
like
that.
they'll build you a table, but they say, right, this is a planer, this is a hammer, this is a power drill, this is, you know, they teach you so you can do it yourself.
Now I'm going to.
It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it's a fantastic thing. And then, okay, here's where again, like we're having this mass, well, with this mashing of talking about finance and politics or society. And the reality is society has changed. And for the last 40 years, okay, we've had media, we've had politicians all selling fear, 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 fear. Every second bloody bloke's a pedo and all that kind of carry on terror.
Well, I hate to say it's probably
well,
in political sphere is probably true.
Certainly up at Harvest Terrace anyway. But anyway, well, but what I'm getting at is it's changed that, and that 1985 neighborhood is an incredible rarity now.
Oh,
And
it
kids are
doesn't
hidden inside.
exist.
It's really, really sad. Now,
We've got the golden
Now-
goose.
well, you have absolutely. Now, what getting to your point though, we've got these lovely parks and things around the place, and most of them are absolutely underutilized or not utilized at all
The biggest
because of
problem.
that issue.
Do you know why people don't use the parks now?
Why?
Because that's where all the crackheads, the drug addicts, that's the amount of syringes, like walking where Celeste School used to be. There's an amazing park, and then there's
Yep.
boxes for the animals up in the trees. Like it's really
Okay.
well done. I've lost count of the number of needles I've had to pick up in parks because the street where we can see the kids is safe for our kids to play on.
Yep.
Even with the cars going up and down the roads,
Mhm.
the park is not safe for my kids. I can't go to the park and say, right, go run right. I
Yep.
have to inspect the entire park because I found one time we were there
Well, hang on.
and there was a guy stripped butt naked getting dressed again because he was a homeless guy. He had no privacy to
Okay.
go get dressed. So parks now are not safe for kids.
Let's highlight this, and it was interesting. I've never been there, but hearing Shaquille's story, a good friend of mine, stories about Dubai, right?
Yep.
Dubai, what was that when it started all those years ago? Just a sandpit, really.
Spot
It
on.
was a desert.
Let's
Yep.
make it something. But here's the thing: they're saying they put in wealth, they made it
Mhm.
wealthy, they made it an attracted international business. Now, okay. There are issues there in terms of the cost of living now because you've got to live in those apartments and they
Yes.
will cost you a fair bit. But when you say there's a lack of infrastructure, it's what you make of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's my point, is that we've got this mindset here in some parts of Australia where it's obviously people got to live where the jobs are. Okay. I get that because they got to pay for what they're living in, etc. But the jobs are there, the opportunities are what you make of it. It doesn't all have to be manicured parks. Why do we all have to be on the same mainstream sewage? I mean, that's an extra expense in building
stupid,
it.
in my opinion.
Yep.
So our water bill is about $180 bi-monthly, and our actual usage is only about $40. The rest of it is sewage and having a connection.
Yep.
Like
There
it's
you go.
insane.
Yep.
There you go.
So, and people complain
But
about
they
power going
want
through the
you
roof.
on the grid, and
Oh,
they want you
absolutely.
in the little
Oh,
15
you'll
minute
love
type
this one.
city type push that's going on at the moment, where you can just walk wherever you want to, and you're seeing that in developments where you're going, why are all these high-rise apartments going on? And this is way out in the suburbs.
It is. And there should not be high rise in the suburbs. I don't understand that in any way, shape, or form. Look, a
I
few
can
months
explain
ago,
it, but
Well,
why don't we go to a break? and
we're
then
going to
we'll
go to
come
a
back.
break. I'll say this very quickly, though, before we go to the break, is look, a couple of months ago, I had an absolute, privilege of going in a light aircraft, okay? Little flight down to Mandurah. And just looking at all the land, left, right, and center, when you're looking from that perspective, changes your attitude, okay? And whenever I hear, there's a shortage of land in Perth, no.
We're
It's-
really
it's
spaced
a couple of organisations. It's Pete, it's Satterley, it's those who are entrenched with the West Australian government, who are controlling the release of the land. When we talk about the government doing it, no, it's not. It's private enterprise controlling it via other means. There is plenty of land, and quite frankly, we could, if we wanted to, if we genuinely stood up against all of this, we could actually recreate that attitude of, and like me, I grew up with when the lights came on, that's when I went home, right?
Yeah.
We can recreate it. We
Personally,
choose not to. We've got a lot of laziness.
I would like to see a lot of land left vacant.
Yeah.
I don't mind having a spaced out city because it gives you, like, you can go for trips, you can do stuff. You got, like you said, with the parks and all that sort of stuff. Whatever happened to allowing motorbikes to ride through the bushes
no
and
way.
all that sort of stuff? Like all the fun, stupid shit you got up to as a kid is all banned now.
Well, you can
And
thank Karen for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
And Kevin.
Yes, Karen and Kevin. All right, time for a break, gentlemen. It is, of course, the Greater Wealth here on Edge Radio Australia.
All right, we're onto the mic. So we did have Catherine is back again. She wants an update on the Sounds of Freedom movie, like the fundraising side of things. Mr. Malloy is pretending to be a DJ.
No.
What from an radio perspective? Or international?
Okay.
I've literally
so-
I've been
Well,
totally off the grid for like 3 weeks.
Cool. Okay. Well, I can fill everybody in on this one. As far as the how it's all basically happened is a lovely girl called Tennille was the person who actually kind of beat us to the punch as far as getting things organised. And I tell you right now, she was just absolutely amazing. So she's organised a backlot theatre, which is exactly what we had organised on the exact same day. Literally, we were trying to book it all, make it all happen. So long story short, rather than having 2 people who were trying to compete effectively to do this, it wasn't ever about competition, it was about getting the movie seen. So long story short, we've coordinated with Tennille. Tennille's been doing an amazing job. We will help promote it. Almost all of them are sold out, which is brilliant. So there you can see there's only 50 people at a time in a nice boutique little independent cinema.
I've been there before. It is gorgeous.
Awesome.
But I went there before they did all the repairs and everything. When it's even back then, when all the chairs were shit, they had rips on them and all that sort of stuff. It was still a gorgeous little cinema. So
Not anymore. It's top notch. So go there. Have a drink, spend some money at the El Sat Bar or something, because also his name's escaping me right now. The gentleman who's actually working from the back lot, he is fantastic and he has really, really helped out. So quite frankly, we do need you to spend some money at the El Sat Bar. Edge isn't involved financially in any way whatsoever. That we're not doing any fundraising. Basically, we're just going to promote it, because ultimately what it came down to is we wanted people to see this film, right?
When's it showing it?
Okay, so basically it's starting pretty much now, actually. And then there's going to be, since also we got involved, the other thing happened is Hoyts took it on.
Have you seen how
absolutely
many
massive.
other cinemas have actually, like, they've all taken on, because of what they weren't going to share it. And
No,
then
they
all of a
weren't
sudden
going
did.
to. Yeah. So basically, when we got involved, there was not an Australian distributor who would touch it.
Yeah.
Right? Simple as that.
What
So
I've
we
also
decided we
done,
were going to do that, and then
just in the comment section, I have, sorry, it's the first neck shave that I had in 3 weeks, so it's not fishy itself. So I've just done,
That's
Oh,
posted-
it's lovely to see your neck again.
yes, right.
Yeah.
not the face, because I was like, yeah, that's too much effort.
Hey, if you can just pull the beanie all the way down.
The cool thing is, because this tea cozy that my nana made, we actually can.
Oh, for-
We've got another 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
So I have chucked in the link to Blacklock Cinemas. Now, Blacklock, if you want to do some sponsorship with us, that'd be greatly appreciated. What is Blacklock?
Back lot,
Back.
like the back lot,
Yeah, back lot.
Yeah, cool.
That's what I said. You just didn't hear from.
Of course.
Anyway, so yeah, Nana is a fresh convert to the AFL team that will never win a premiership, the Dockers. So that took us a couple of years to get sorted. So she was an Eagle. Now she's
Right.
after-
Well, it's a lovely beanie, mate. It's going well.
So Nana knitted this for me, and if you don't like it, we'll go get stuff.
Cool.
It's a Nana present. And this is Celeste left her, well, this is actually Estelle's. She left it with Derek, so Derek's fine. Back to us.
Darren needed a bit of support.
So Bunny
Been a
is
wonderful companion.
Bunny is joining us for today's stream. So for the kids, yes, they are watching, and they will probably be seeing this. So Celeste and Estelle, they love watching the shows.
Cool. Oh, of course.
I do let them watch it, swearing and all.
Oh, really?
They've got to learn somehow. But apparently they see that, that's a dirty word.
Sound of Freedom at the moment, it looks like it's about 133 million US.
Quite some time ago. That's actually pretty old. Isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's going unbelievably well. The thing is, like, and I made this comment, actually, I made the post, I think, this morning, and everybody, I know that everybody for the last 7 years has listened to me talk about this and it's probably had enough, but we have to really address the elephant in the room that no one has addressed, right? We watched this movie, and it's all about, we're about to watch this movie, it's all about kids being abducted. Kids are
Well, the
abducted
thing is-
every single day in this country. This is a first world problem. We've got a corrupt family court.
It's not
We've got-
just first world, it's
It's right.
worldwide.
I know, absolutely. What I'm getting at is the fact that, okay, is this movie's brought it to prominence and talking about these third world countries where it's happening and all kind of carry on, yada, yada. This is happening here in Perth, Western Australia.
Well,
This is happening.
Edge
And
has-
we know all about it.
Edge has actually one of our presenters, Mary, has
Yes.
been researching, investigating, and this is just
Amazing.
WA based
Yep.
child kidnapping, molestation, pedophilia, and all that sort of stuff. So she has actually got on Rumble, it's called Talking Truth, a page there, where she's actually done a 6 or 7 part series,
Yeah.
which links all the politicians, judges, lawyers, and all that together. Now, this is not her making claims. This is her taking news articles and linking everyone together. So all the information in it is actually from the West Australian, the Australian, and all this sort of stuff. She's just linked it all together.
Absolutely. Also, freedom of information. She's gone through all of that
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
So, and like not court documents, you know how they have financial reviews each year for different companies.
Sure.
They say where all their money gets
Yep.
distributed to. She's
Yep.
also gone through all their financial statements for companies and things like that, and linked all these different organisations together. And on top of it, she's actually got testimonies from 2 victims in WA.
Yeah, and we've actually done a show. One of the you can't say that. We actually had one of her victims on, which I mean was a bloody incredible. Like I'm going to say privilege, just so not the right word. I mean, it was just such a heavy subject. And
Try editing that shit.
oh my god!
Because I edited all the videos, and it wasn't context wise. Sorry, the technical editing side of things wasn't hard. It was actually sitting there trying to do sound corrections whilst listening to the girl's stories.
It's
The other
horrendous.
part is I couldn't edit because we homeschool the kids, so the kids are home. So I had to edit this at night because the kids are in bed. Like it was insane. Like,
And
that's what I had to do.
I want to throw something out here to our social media audience. Something you really need to know in Western Australia, and I mean, I can only speak for WA, I can't speak for the whole world or the country, but in Western Australia, our Department of Communities, which used to be the DCP, is absolutely deeply involved in this.
Oh
Okay?
yeah,
The
definitely.
DCP
Oh,
is
I've got a story for you guys.
trafficking organisation.
I've got a story for you guys. So, I'm just trying to see if I can get the Rumble one.
1.5 minutes. Bro.
So I was at our place in Geraldton,
Yeah.
and the street. So we had a Noongar family one side and Yamaji family on the other side, and the street erupted. There was like 20 cops running around, riot police, and everything. So it turned out what was actually happening is the police were taking a kid out of the house. Like DCP was removing a
Yes.
child out of the house. They came back 3 hours later, dropped the kid back off. You know why?
Wow.
They took the wrong child.
Wow.
Yeah.
And on that front, there's the DCP or Department of Communities in the state has just trawled through the Aboriginal community, and they've absolutely used them as quite frankly, just to make money. They actually there's financial advantages and KPIs and so forth to hit, and they've taken the vulnerability of the Aboriginal community and made money out of it. DCP is corrupt in Western Australia. No ifs, no buts. Too much evidence out there, so
What I've also done is I've chucked the link to
30 seconds.
the how many?
30 seconds.
Yeah, the link to the Rumble site where Mary's videos are. They're all in the chats as well. So really good videos. The autofocus halfway through started picking up as she turns the page. The autofocus focus on the page instead of her, so the vision is
Small
more
details.
blurred. But yeah,
Okay, we're back, mate.
yeah.
10 seconds.
All right, thank you for the notice. My argument is that it was actually
It Radio Australia, of course, it is the Greater Wealth here. And I know I've left your red light on, mate. Okay. Shall I turn you on as well?
Oh, Aaron, you turned me on.
Oh,
Oh,
wish I hadn't done it now.
Aaron. Oh,
Derek Whitaker to my left, of course, the child, the shaved monkey himself, Mr. Cartier to my left.
have you missed me?
And look, no, I haven't.
He
Yeah,
doesn't
in a word.
change, does he?
Oh,
He
look, you'd
just-
think 3 weeks.
yeah.
You know, I didn't realise I was on holiday for 3 weeks. But
We
it
actually
was.
got some stuff done,
Yeah.
didn't we? eh?
Look at what we've achieved. Hey, I've noticed now, here's the frightening thing, mate. You've probably just given up. You've closed the laptop. Does that mean that the show is that much off the rails that we can't go on?
No, it means that Travis has got the main bulk of the next story that he wants to cover. That's what it
sorry.
means.
I stand corrected.
Mm.
Earlier, I was talking about black tape and all this sort of stuff. So we've had a bit of a win with the Aboriginal Heritage Act getting repealed, and it's going back to the 1972 Act. So now, why is this important on a finance show? Because a lot of people thought this was just about farmers. The
No.
original, like the 1972 Act, is fine. Just
Mhm.
leave it alone. It worked. It did what it needed to do. The 2021 Act was an absolute dog's dinner. It was shit, like to say the least. The problem is every time. So, for example, I've been in Geraldton, and one of the reasons we were rushing through the repairs because it's a strata property. So we got a set of duplexes of about 1,200 square meters, right?
Right.
So we were immediately a class 2, like a tier 2.
Right.
We did nothing to the land. We were painting, changing doors, and putting new floors in. I had to go get my property inspected by a local Aboriginal elder.
No way.
100% true. Because we were immediately tier 2. Any maintenance or repairs to a strata property over 1,100 square meters had to be inspected.
That is just crazy.
So this is a type of bullshit that was in this act. So this is just for a property owner who wants to do some repairs to their property.
Yep.
So let's look at this even further. So I know it's being repealed, but we need to understand what was in that act. So if you are subdividing land to create more land, you're immediately a tier 3. Because you're going to be either adding, changing, modifying the land itself, which means full investigation, archaeologists, and all that sort of shit that goes on. There was 2 situations which came up. So there's one up north for $25,000 for an application, and the other one's $2.5 million. Okay, one of these guys, I think it was the $25,000 guy, was actually also an Aboriginal from the local tribe.
Okay.
So this is the kind of bullshit that was going on. Now, on top of that, they had free access to your land. Now, I don't know if you know about Geraldton or not. The crime rates between Indigenous versus non-Indigenous is chalk and cheese. It's absolutely insane. So a lot of landowners just saying there's no way in hell I'm going to let them come into my land, case it out so they know what to come back and steal later on, which I hate to say is we are always on guard against break-ins because the thing is, it's not just someone's broken in, stolen shit and ran away. It's they've broken in. If you try to say anything, you get the absolute living of Jesus beaten out of you. I've had axes pulled on me. Someone tried to stab me with a Phillips head screwdriver. And the thing is, these are all minors. So they don't even get in jail. So Quigley's actually one of the police officers when I reported when they set our properties on fire. The police officer actually said we can't open up an incident report on this one because the suspect is under 12 years old as an Aboriginal. The police actually said they can't do anything about it. So, but all of this is being repelled. What does it matter? Well, the thing is, if you actually listen to what Roger Cook, Shifty Cook, or whatever you want to call him now, we gave McGowan a nickname, so we go come up one with Crook. He says that the rollout was botched, so they're going to go back to the 1972 Act, but they're going to amend it to achieve our goals. So they're now they're in the process of amending the 1972 Act. So the 1972 Act is still going to be in existence, but they're going to amend it to achieve their goals to make sure that Dukin doesn't happen again.
So while we're all celebrating, the reality is they were just
it's a delay.
They were running around the back door.
Yeah,
it was always an advisory process, wasn't it? Right?
No, not the 2021 process.
The new one. The
new one was not an advisory. They had total control. Right. If you wanted to do anything, you had to go through the local LARCs, and the LARCs is the one that had total control. Now, if there wasn't a LARCs, and I asked this, I was at Northern at one of the workshops, and I said, will the LARCs have anything to do with native title, or is native title got anything to do with any of this? And they said, oh, no, native title has nothing to do with this. And then they went to the next slide. Oh, if the local LARCs isn't around, then you go to the native title group. Like literally within 30 seconds of it. So the LARCs is the local area Aboriginal corporation, whatever it is. The next one, if they don't exist, which at the time of rollout, none of them existed, then you had to go to your native title group. Which the whole process is messed up. So where does this become a problem? So at the moment in WA, we have roughly 30,000 people homeless. You're talking about all that land that's not released. What's happening is a lot of these people were actually buying land, hoping to subdivide them to create more property for people to actually live in. The government's also turned around and said, I think it was 50,000 houses over all of Australia over 5 years, the government housing scheme that they're trying to push through, which will probably end up causing a double dissolution later this year. So on top of that, we've already got 30,000 people short. We're bringing in 1.2 million people over 2 years. Now, let's assume 10% of those people come to WA.
Now,
that's about 30 to 40,000 houses that we're already short.
Hang on, it's worse than that. The figures that came out on homeless in Western Australia have actually apparently hit 70,000.
There you go.
70,000 homeless.
So assuming that there's couples in there as well, let's assume all of them are a couple with a few kids, whatever. So that's 35. Let's say 25 to 30,000 houses that we're already short.
Yeah.
We're going to have another 40,000 for these migrants coming in. That's not even taken into natural population growth.
Yeah.
Where the hell are these people going to live?
I'm noticing a pattern.
Like
internationally.
Yes.
New York's got a housing crisis.
I know.
Right?
I noticed that too.
England's got a housing crisis.
Wonder what's going on.
Ireland's got a housing crisis.
They don't have a
Is-
housing crisis.
is
Everyone
this-
lives
is
out
this-
the pub.
Is this,
Irishman
look,
walked out of the bar.
you know,
do you know what?
Never happened.
Okay. Ultimately, no matter how you swing this kind of runs back to a particular name. Okay.
We got a good name for Cook. Dodgy Crook.
Okay. That works for me. Klaus Schwab. Okay. Since the World Economic Forum came into play,
Yeah.
we've just seen this systematic change of our society, right?
or
Now,
attempts.
or attempts. Now, we are talking about a man who literally his father was a member of the Nazi Party. All right. Okay.
This
Who
is also
spent-
the same guy that walked down a beach in a G-bang up with a top hat and a bow tie. I've seen the photo.
I don't need to see
It's
that photo.
scary as hell.
My
and he was
point-
dancing as
My
he went.
point is, okay. He's gonna throw it out there. Okay. We had the World War. Okay, well, two of them, in fact, but the last one, okay, with finishing in 45. All right. Where
Oh,
the-
sorry. I thought you were talking about Iraq.
No. I'm gonna wrong guy. But we go further back. We go a bit further back, and we've got a situation where, it wasn't a case of look, these different countries fighting. Germany actually literally tried to take over the world. Okay, not
Yeah.
just not a small.
So what
target,
America's
okay?
doing at the moment?
Well, pretty much. But no. But okay, I've got a little bit of a theory about this. Okay, I don't think that after the war and a whole bit, and how many of them took off to South America and lived in Argentina and all of that kind of carry on. Now, I'm not being anti-German by any stretch. I've got some great German people in my life, right? But
They make
they're-
great sausages.
what I'm getting at is, to my mind, the regime is still very much alive. They've just remarketed it.
Yeah,
Well, they're
they've-
moving people. I mean, this is a whole
changed their
issue.
name,
You were
WAF.
talking during the break about the whole release of the movie Sounds of Freedom, right?
Yep.
And this is about human trafficking. Well, it's still happening across the US border.
Of course,
The border has just been, no of those politicians, Harris won't go down there. They won't have a look at the problem. Nothing to see here. And yet thousands are pouring in over the
Okay.
US to weaken it. They're also doing this across the channel, the English channel,
Yep.
into England and into Ireland. Now, is this
Random question here. Great Wall of China. Is it racist?
Look, I don't. I think it's
Well,
important.
it was literally built to
I
keep
know.
the Mongolians out of China.
Hang on. I know.
So how's
absolutely.
the border wall any different?
It's not.
I
Okay,
know.
because you know what? Sovereignty is important.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
And you know what?
They
There's
wanna
no
destroy it.
issue. I have no issue with the
I-
Great Wall of China.
I don't know how we got onto this.
Not at all.
But yeah,
But
No,
no,
but-
my point is
Yeah.
this. I mean, and bringing it back to
Yeah.
your point, I'm noticing also a pattern here with Labor.
Mm.
You're probably too young to remember this, Travis, and that is a compliment. You remember when the Australia card was on the
Oh, I
table?
do.
Yeah,
And we were against that, weren't we?
and people were marching in their
no,
thousands.
we just got a Medicare card now.
Exactly. They passed legislation shortly after. All right, we'll back off. We won't do
Yep.
the Australia card. And what do? They passed legislation that if you were opening up a bank account, you had to have your tax file number attached.
Yep.
Which is getting the same effect
Yep.
as what they were trying to push with the
Spot
Australia card. Now, that's my concern in this situation. When I heard about backing off, so to speak, about the Cultural Heritage Act, they're going to try just another avenue to slip it under the door.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got to be on the lookout for.
I think, and that's happening. Okay, that's happening.
It will
right?
happen.
And look, I think everybody, through the last month or so, and in fact the last couple of months, but particularly through July, we had the Whitman sampler. We had the taste of the voice. Okay, here in WA, and the rest of the nations had a good look. And now I'm actually seeing polls that are actually showing over 80% of Australians plan to vote no. Right now.
Oh,
This
I know
entire-
the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was Tasmania. The problem is the sample size was so tiny. You can't.
No, it was
You've
a
gotta
Sky,
take a-
it was actually a Sky TV one, which would be an
Oh.
interesting conversation to have later.
Yeah.
But look, here's my point: is no matter what you say, here's the problem. This conversation we're having. Oh my God, you're racist. You're racist. You're racist. You're racist. No, we're not racist. In fact, well, I'm certainly not, and two men I'm sitting with are not either. We care about this country, and we care about our sovereignty, and we care about equality. Now, when you make one particular sort of person, a race or a background or a skin color special, have them with special rights, you are being racist.
Well, you're being used.
You are absolutely being
This is the power brokers are trying to use cultural guilt upon the Indigenous people.
Yep.
And say to pass legislation that is a Trojan horse. That's
course it
the
is.
issue.
Yep, no
right?
doubt about it.
It's not so much about racism, but it's using that cultural guilt. And we had an episode on that a couple of weeks ago.
We did, yeah.
And that's what the pattern is noticing globally as well. Is you've treated these people wrong, or you should be treating
Be
them
ashamed, be ashamed.
differently, and that's happening. They're using that same trick globally.
Absolutely.
Of the cultural
Yeah.
guilt.
Absolutely. And, they're trying to make us as this generation and the generations around us guilty for something we did not do. You can't judge society today on the standards of many, many years ago. The world has changed. We're doing things better. Okay. And look, there has always been winners and losers. So, when you talk about slavery, if you're going to go down that route, let's cut the crap. I mean, the greatest majority of slaves in the world were white, right? But they want to make that a black issue. No matter what, when you throw the race card into it, when you say call someone a racist or this or an obic or whatever, quite frankly, you've lost the argument. What you're saying, you're walking into that argument and you're saying, I haven't got the intelligence, okay, or the critical thinking ability to actually have a proper discussion about this. That's the problem. It is that quick fix, and unfortunately, because our social media companies are right on top of that, and if you say anything, you're jumped upon. It is absolutely squashing free speech. It's got to stop. Right? It's all interwoven with each other. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
Now I see Travis. He's looking at the screen very intently.
Yep.
Would you like to give us an update, mate?
So what I'm doing is the bit that I always find interesting, especially when people start throwing the racism word here. I'm actually on the federal registration of legislation at the moment. It's the Racial Vilification Act. I forget what they actually call it, 1975. So the thing is with racism, everyone thinks, racism is just excluding someone from something. So you can't go into this bar because you're black, or you can't go into this area because you're white and stuff like that. That's flat out racial vilification.
Okay.
The thing is, under the Anti-Discrimination Act, it's not just excluding someone from something.
Yep.
It's, let's say I apply for a job and then a Chinese person applies for a job.
Sure.
And they give me the job because I'm white. That's also a form of racism. You cannot preference one race over another.
Absolutely.
It's got to be based
It's
purely
not just
on
exclusion,
things. So it's not just the exclusion, it's the making someone like an elite or putting someone up on a pedestal. So I'm just trying to find the actual wording of it.
And we're going to go to a break in a moment, but just want to throw this forward too, right? We saw all these amazing changes in the early 70s, and there was a lot going on. Okay, we lost the gold standard, 72. The family court was introduced in 75, effectively. We had all these changes in Australia, particularly that were brought on by the Gough Whitlam government, who were so incompetent they were, fired. Let's face it. And when we look at other countries, I'm seeing social policy change so much in those basically those first few years, I guess, of the 70s. It seems like all of that messing with society is now coming to fruition to me.
Yeah, 50 years ago now, it's all kind of coming to a point where you're going, no more. This is going on for decades.
It has.
And it's like God's pulling the carpet out from under it and going, no, not happening anymore. And that's really exciting from that perspective.
It really is, actually.
Because what we're in, and I've said it before, we're in a time where the truth is coming out. The truth has a darn way of coming out. And we are seeing, I was even looking at, some other news stuff that was coming across my line, the stuff that was happening in 2015, 2016, related to some foreign politics. And you're just going, it's all creeping out. And that's what's really, really exciting.
The bit that I find problematic the most, and I've said this on the show before, is the moment you label someone, you create that mental image, them versus us, or them versus them sort of thing. So the problem is, and Aaron's have said this, corruption rots from the top down. The problem is, in Parliament, we have a Minister for Women's Affairs. We have a Minister for Aboriginal Affairs. We have all these ministers that label certain groups of people.
That's right.
So we need to, and this is my personal belief, and I think it was Sarah Game who actually petitioned in South Australia to have a minister for men.
Yes, she did.
And she's actually tabled saying, why isn't there a minister for men?
You know what? There's even a better idea.
So
How about we get rid of the Minister for Women? So
spot
we
on,
get rid of the Minister for Aboriginal Affairs.
spot on.
The fact is, we're all Australians.
We
Doesn't
need
matter what
to
our
drop
gender is.
those labels because
Absolutely.
when you create labels on people, you create them versus us, and humans are naturally competitive.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's just part of us. We are always going to compete. So if there's just no, and this is something I've tried to live my life personally, is I try not to label people. If you're not being an absolute arsehole to me, then I'll be an arsehole back.
Yep.
It's not because you're black or a woman or this or that and that, whatever. I really, really do not give a shit. You try to stab me with a knife, I'll probably punch you in the face.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
as simple as that. It's not because I'm a racist or anything like that. I just really don't care. And people need to stop labeling each other.
It was like the video that where Morgan Freeman was interviewed and says, "How do you feel about Black History Month?"
Oh,
that.
how dare you summarize my history?
and
in a
it's
month.
like,
I loved
yeah.
it.
I don't feel anything at all for it. And
Yeah.
and
Yep.
why should I be labeled? And I think again it comes back to the victim mentality that's undermining all of this.
So true.
Is we make victims of people, and the problem is, yes, you may have been taken advantage of and it wasn't fair, but if you stay in that mindset of I'm a victim for the rest of my life, that is not serving you either, because
Not at all.
one, you're not being healed.
Yep.
One, you're not working on yourself and through that situation, and three, you are missing out on so many opportunities to live life in an abundant way.
And I came up with epiphany. I think that's the word for it. Epiphany while I was in Geraldton. And I was watching the changes in one of my neighbors, Patricia. So I have to give Patricia a massive shout out. When we first grabbed the houses, her and her family were right old shitheads. I'm not done sugarcoat it. The kids were breaking into our house, they were smashing our windows, vandalizing the house purely because I was white.
Yep.
And so I got to know Patricia over time from shouting at her kids and shouting at her and having altercations over the fence with her and stuff like that. I never called the police on her because it was just kids being stupid. And I kept asking her, why aren't you getting the kids into school? And she was like, well, they don't teach any of our Aboriginal heritage, any of our Aboriginal traditions, stuff like that. I said, okay, I get that. I get. And the epiphany I came with, like, yes, let's say the Aboriginals have been here for 80 years, what they say. During that time, a lot of people say, what have they built? What have they created? What have they done for society? Well, they're not builders. They're not researchers. Their cultural identity is creating a strong connection to the land and the spirit and that side of things. My background is Eastern European. We didn't have a choice. We had to build houses because if you didn't, you froze to death. We had to find ways to create food. We had to invent things that our bodies just couldn't do. So our genealogy, if you will, is totally different to what we needed to survive in Europe compared to what they needed to survive in Australia. And we need to actually understand that, yes, the Aboriginals are fundamentally, physically and DNA based different to what I am. And so our beliefs are totally different. So we need to understand that we both have different beliefs.
It's also understanding that as a parent, you're responsible for teaching the next generation and
Correct.
not relying on the system, the education system, the government, the church, even. You as a parent have the responsibility to pass on the values that you've grown up with to your kids. And whatever else comes into that should complement what it is you're teaching.
And where I get a lot of respect for Patricia is her kids used to stink. Like they were putrid. But now, the last time I went up about 2 weeks ago, all of a sudden a school bus pulled into the cul-de-sac.
Okay.
Her kids come running out. They were clean, teeth done, hair brushed, school
Fantastic.
uniforms were all clean, jumped onto the bus and they raced over to the school and everything. And the massive difference in the behavior of her kids from then to now is chalk and cheese. Like it is
Personal
absolutely,
responsibility, mate. It's
I was
amazing.
absolutely dumbfounded. So I ended up giving Patricia a hug and she didn't smell either. And I was like, oh my God, you don't stink. So that was cool. And like we were sitting there, we're just chatting over the fence and all this sort of stuff. So to stop the so-called generational trauma, get the bloody kids to school.
Yeah,
I remember
thoroughly
when I had 152 days off school in year 10. So I've got experience at wagging
That's
school.
a bit
So
special. Okay.
it was, from my understanding, it wasn't a record either. So
no.
So getting the kids to school is a great way because when you're at school, you're forced to interact with people from different races, creed, areas, and stuff like that. So get the kids to school. Get the kids a basic and under education. Get them to learn how to read, how to write, because the illiteracy rates within the Indigenous communities are through the roof. If you can't read and write, how do you know you're not being taken advantage of? How can you make sure that you're getting paid what you're paid to do? How can you actually get yourself out of that poverty mark without that education? And the funny thing is, I was talking to my other neighbors, and the reasons they didn't send their kids to school is because they were too embarrassed because they couldn't read or write themselves.
Yep.
So how
No,
could
I've
they
heard
do
that
the
a lot.
homework? So
Yeah.
we, especially with people who do suffer illiteracy, not just allow their kids to come to school, but allow the parents to come into the same classroom so they can quietly learn at the same
It's not a
time.
bad idea.
So
All right,
they can't do
gentlemen,
it.
we're going to do things a little differently. If actually we've been talking so much, we've had to snip around a bit of music, but we'll have a quick break. Be back really soon. It's Edge Radio Australia, the Greater Wealth.
That's what your body craves. For thousands of years, ancient Chinese.
Woohoo, we're on the camera. Now, Aaron, the problem, I've been drinking so much coffee while I was in Geraldton.
Yes.
Why am I drinking water? Like instant toilet break.
Then off you run, mate. You know where it is. Okay. So we're literally going to come back in 4.5 minutes, mate.
Yep.
And then we'll come home. We're basically, yeah, okay. How am I going to make this work? We'll just run it out. That's what we're doing. Because our Sundays are going so well these days with running show to show to show to show, I've been trying to end every single show on a song so that we can break them up and make. We should not be able to do today, so it's all right.
Okay.
So that's all right.
We don't have to talk long.
No, it's okay. We'll make it work. Or I can just put a very short song at the end.
2 minute songs.
Yeah. What's it? Really short. We had about, yesterday I think 11 hours of content that went out. But,
Can you feed that?
flowed over. Yeah. And a lot of people switching on in the morning
Mhm.
and leaving it on all day. The retention is massive.
Really?
Yeah.
How are you measuring that? How do you know?
Oh, literally, you get the report, how long they're listening for. And obviously, it says, 11 hours, and the spots of where it's going. So,
Well, that's great.
Very fantastic.
Yeah. Because Sunday's generally a very moderating day. for
Spot on.
Most media.
I know. Not for us. It's
great.
great.
Yeah.
So, that's fine. Let's go back, and then that's cool. All right.
You're doing a sports show too, aren't you?
We need more, that's for sure. Hoping to bring Flat Chat back at some point, which is the no
whoops.
sport and car culture show.
I love it when you accidentally press buttons and some weird dialogue comes up.
Because back in the day, it was absolutely well, very, very successful. But yeah, if you've got anybody in broadcasting who does sport, absolutely.
Oh, I can't think of it. I was thinking in terms of Saturday programming, it's typically a
Spot on. Yeah, we'll get some more sports for Saturday.
I must admit, I still want to see local sports being covered.
But, well, look,
Like, go out with but we need some new cameras. So
It's
for the
all
people
about
listening
FIFA
online,
soccer at the moment, isn't it?
it is, everyone's keen on the
Yeah.
soccer at the moment, yeah. 2 minutes. Look, when we get to that next point, we can buy those lovely new cameras and all that stuff. We could go out there and actually, do live sport and broadcast directly. Just so many options.
there's that guy with louder shirts than you that we need to talk to about the US show.
Yeah, okay,
So once the show's finished, I'll talk to you about that.
cool.
Because
I know that guy.
you do know that guy.
I don't think I know who you're talking about.
You definitely know who you're talking about. I'm just not sure because it's still kind of under wraps. And I know this is picking up. So
That's okay.
I have to say, I think the Pac-Man have come up really, really well.
They look good, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
The other thing is, for the people who are listening, I think this is annoying, who like a bit of good old music.
Let's be a little bit neutral on this one. Let's not collect too much of the next story.
So, a very special
Which was the
guest,
next story? Oh, that's right. Yeah.
the very,
Yes, I know.
Let's be objective here.
But no, for me it actually is a negative thing because I actually watch Sky. Right? Yeah, good old Foxtel. There you go. And I used to really like their shows, and I noticed they've got some new presenters on there who I just absolutely adore.
see, they need us.
I don't know who I've seen them. I know obviously the new CEO about No, that's good.
So hang on, just
Oh,
before we get
36
into that, a very special friend of the station, DJ Tidy.
Yes,
Tidy.
we're here.
He's got a new track out.
I know.
So please jump across to his YouTube channel. I've posted the link in the chat to it. I have to say,
You can say nothing because we've got 10 seconds.
oh, thanks for letting me know.
Okay, ready?
No,
Edge Radio Australia, the greater wealth here. What we're, I was about to say, we're sitting down here. Okay, we're having a good chat. We're talking about all these incredibly important issues that actually, when we're talking finance, but we're talking about finance and how the way it mixes with society, the changes in society, obviously, politics, and in this particular case, looking down the screen, how media is changing at the moment. And yeah, like, look, Jarek, you thought I'd be pleased about this. I'm actually not. I do want the mainstream media to basically burn in hell, but at the same time,
At least you're upfront about it.
why lie about these things? Well, I'm just, you know what, over the last how many years we've been lied to, and we've been sold nothing but narrative and propaganda, okay, for such a long time. And don't get me wrong, Fox is definitely one of those that does that. But one thing I have enjoyed about Fox or Sky News and that sort of thing is the fact that we've actually had something from, in some cases, the centre right. Okay, so not just far left ideology and things. So almost like a resistance, which has been a very positive thing. But what's going on there, mate?
Well, Rupert Murdoch's media empire is suffering some issues. It's dropped 75% in profit, with News Corporation reporting that. News Corp on Thursday recorded 187 million in net profit for the 2023 financial year. That's down 760 million the previous year. And basically it's spans across the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia.
Yeah.
We're talking things like the Wall Street Journal publisher, Dow Jones and Company, The Sun, News Corp Australia. And what they're doing is they're saying that a lot of the profit is due to lower print and digital advertising at News Corp Australia, low print advertising, UK News Corp. And you've also got to remember that Fox News, that whole Dominion settlement cost them $54 million.
Not a small amount.
And they lost their primetime guy, Tucker Carlson, in the process.
Now, so you lost a guy who was their highest rating show by far. And when they've replaced him, I mean, basically they're getting, first initially it dropped by 50%, literally, dropped in half. And I'm not absolutely 100% sure, so I don't want to tell any fibs, but last time I looked, the audience at the same time was about 20% of what it was before. So it's a massive thing. And you look at what Tucker's doing on Twitter.
You should see his numbers; they're insane.
They're absolutely insane, right? Okay, and he's doing the shows he wants to. He's out there being an independent journalist again, which is just
people
fantastic.
are actually listening. So a lot of people have gone independent, and then their numbers just hit the mic. The numbers really dropped down, but they've exploded.
Oh, absolutely.
So for the people who want to play along at home, I have posted the news link to yahoo.com. Rupert Murdoch News Corp sees losses. So
Fox Corp has other issues too about the coverage of the 2020 election defamation suits.
Absolutely.
They've also had the issue, News Corp British is being sued by Prince Harry for allegedly multiple unlawful acts allegedly committed over several decades, including hacking his phone. So that's going on in the background. So, obviously the Royals sell newspapers and they sell headlines and that, and these kind of things are coming out. I think mainstream media is going for a big shakeup. I don't think CNN is going to recover from what it's done. Of course, they're not owned by Murdoch; they're owned by Warner Brothers Discovery. They have just push. It's ironic too to think that Twitter, when it was called that, now it's called something else, X. But it was fascinating. They were trying to. They got so many headlines through Donald Trump's and the coverage on them, and they hated him. But banning his account was the worst thing they could have done.
Spot on.
When Trump was not at the White House anymore, there were the ratings for CNN.
Oh, that's right.
They had nothing more to spout hate upon.
No, exactly. And look at the amount of their high, Don Lemon being let go because he was just absolutely
trash. Let's be honest, trash.
Well, no, it comes from that. I think the instigating thing was the conversation with Vivek Ramaswamy, or I can't pronounce his name correctly there, but the presidential candidate,
Mm.
basically accusing a man there, of Indian heritage, of not understanding, what it's like to be of darker skin. Just he was so out of touch, right, and so pushing this narrative of division and the Black Lives Matter and all of that sort of thing, where you've got Vivek, who basically was bringing people together, which is fantastic, what it should be. CNN to me, I can't even believe that they're still around. When you see some of their ratings, which are 100,000 odd, and I'm actually going to buy.
Well, they had to cut their streaming service.
Yeah,
that wasn't
absolutely,
working for them. And Disney's suffering the same sort of stuff as well, as far as mainstream media is concerned.
Yeah.
Their stock price over the last 2 years has gone down below 50%. They're going to have huge issues, because you got to remember with making movies, you're 3 to 5 to 7 years in the pipeline of making
Absolutely,
productions. Now, those films that are coming out with those woke tendencies, which the American public are rejecting, saying we're not buying tickets to this
right.
stuff, we're cutting our streaming services, we're boycotting you. It's very hard for a big ship to turn around like that,
Sure
because
is.
they've been in the pipeline for so long. And they announced recently with their CEO that they're cutting the big blockbuster presentations.
Okay.
They're trying to do more with less in terms of getting reducing the amount of content they're producing on their TV channel as well. So they're having to make cutbacks as well. So it's really fascinating to see this whole media way it's done and being absolutely shaken up, which opens the doors for other players coming
Absolutely.
in. We've seen Jeremy O'Keefe with his coverage. What was the company he formerly was in control of, but now he's gone out on his own. These independent reporters. It escapes me. You know the company I'm talking about?
No, you've lost
okay.
me on that one.
All right. He's the one who he was very involved with the Pfizer whistleblower in bringing that to light. Also, Pfizer's corruptions in terms of
look, I
hidden
know
mic
I
with
could
the
see his
exec.
face, but I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
which
Jeremy
one it
O'Keefe
was.
is his name. So that's been going on. We're seeing more of the alternative reporters rise up. It's whether they can now run companies and turn it into a bit of a mainstream, and also resist the temptation of being bought out. They've really got to look at the business model moving forward for media, because as soon as there's an old line, you don't bite the hand that feeds you, right?
Here lies the whole problem, right? So to be honest and be truthful, you're going to burn bridges here, and that is the big problem. And like the issue we've had over the last few years with the West Australian media being absolutely in bed with the government, because it's like, okay, I'm going to use an example here. Okay, our ex-premier, who was having an affair with a public servant for years, okay, for a long time, everybody knows, and the West Australian media won't even talk about it, because he put out straight outright to the community that if you report on this, you'll never be invited to another press conference. You won't be able to get the information. So that what happens, unfortunately, is these people get this power, and advertisers get power, and you lose your power as an independent. Now, I'll give you an example of this that I'm very proud of, quite frankly.
Project Veritas.
Well, no,
with
I'm going to
James O'Keefe.
That is the
James
one.
James
O'Keefe.
O'Keefe. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well,
Thank you,
yeah,
AW71 and
Thank
Josh
you.
McCurry.
really appreciate that. I'm gonna actually use this little opportunity to I don't know, to blow some
Smoke out your butt?
our own butts here. Do you know what's really great? You know what's happening right now with
Don't
Edge
need a
Radio
face mask.
Australia?
I don't know. I've been in hibernation for
Maybe-
3 weeks.
Maybe because you've been missing for 3 weeks, but I'll tell you this right now. Right now, Edge Radio Australia has a greater social media following. Actually, I shouldn't say greater. Basically, on par with a major radio station here in Western Australia. That shouldn't happen. Okay.
Hang on,
We are
can
a
you tell me
small-
which one?
No,
No,
not
not on
on here. But I'll tell you right now, our interaction is of the same level of a station in Perth that does a lot of talk back, and we're going to carry on.
Oh, I know the
Now-
one you're talking about.
Now, since that station went very left and very woke, their numbers are going down. I'm loving the fact
it's
very
a
quietly.
shame, because I used to actually enjoy listening.
And
to
you're not the only
if
one.
I did listen to
Yeah.
Talkback Radio, that's the one I did.
Yeah,
did
absolutely.
listen
And
to.
they were great.
And believe it or not, they actually allowed me on air a couple of times.
There you go. But what I'm saying is, people are actually now going, okay, we don't have to stick with the mainstream. We can look at other alternatives.
We need to bring back to balanced journalism reporting, right? Where you actually present both sides of the story, and the
Imagine that.
viewer can actually make up their mind. But
Yep.
what happened was they passed
Imagine.
legislation in the United States where you could do one-sided type reporting, and this is why you had factions kind of coming in.
And the thing
It's
is,
true.
it's getting to the point where Australia's going to have that soon with the misinformation bill
Oh,
coming out. So
Everybody
even
has
if
to
the-
fire up about that. Everybody, you
Yeah.
need to sign petitions. You have to write to your local parliamentarian, all that sort of thing.
Well, the
That
thing
has
is,
to be stopped.
we are going to have an opportunity very, very shortly because my understanding is Albanese has put his housing bill back up. And my
Mhm.
understanding it hasn't been changed. It's
Okay.
already been rejected once. If once it gets rejected again, that means he now qualifies for a double dissolution election.
Yes.
So at the last federal election, parties like One Nation finished 7th in
Mhm.
every single state,
Right.
which means that we'll have a Freedom Senator in WA, New South Wales, Queensland. Well, obviously Pauline will still get in. We may lose one in Queensland, which I hope we don't, but we'll pick up in every other state.
Fantastic. Well, look, whatever party it is,
And
the
then we got
reality
the
is,
state election in March.
yes, we do. Whatever party it is, the fact is we need greater representation across the board. This two-party system is doing nothing but damage. So
Yep.
there we go.
So the biggest thing is we need people who aren't previously involved in politics to actually get off their ass and get involved.
Yeah. And with that, we're going to end the show. Gentlemen, would you have any last thoughts?
I'm excited. I'm excited to where
Alright,
the
big Kev.
direction the world is going.
I'm excited.
Big Kev.
People are becoming aware of what's actually happening. People are taking action. Governments are starting to hear, even though things can go different ways. So the war is, the battle is certainly not finished.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But we've got to be encouraged by what's changing.
Yep.
And keep pushing and keep pushing and keep
Beautiful.
pushing.
All right.
And
And if,
my final note is for the people listening, please jump over to edgeradioaustralia.com.
yes,
Click on I forget what the button is. I created it. But
you
anyway,
should remember these things.
become
Okay.
a subscriber to the actual
Yes.
website.
Yes, it's got a little section that says other. You can just click down on other, and then you've
it
got
other?
subscriptions. Yeah, well, you've
No,
got
it says underneath the logo, it says subscribe now. You click that and then you pick the package you want. So obviously there's a free package, but we need money.
yeah,
I'm not going to
absolutely.
sugarcoat
Yeah.
it. This costs shit. This shit costs money and we need money. So there's is it $2 or $3 for the cheap ass?
No. We've got basically it comes down to free $5 or $20 a month. There we go.
Did you jack them up?
I didn't jack them up, but the fact is I had to pay the power bill. So
It's called inflation.
it's exactly right. So look,
I hope
we're
you
working very
warned-
hard to
I
bring
hope
as
you
much.
warned the subscribers that were on the $10 package.
No. That's all fine. You know what? We'll leave them on $10. So that's
Good.
all good, mate. All good.
So-
Unless they want to contribute.
Well, if they want to, that's fantastic. But ultimately, it comes down to look, we want to bring integrity and honesty and not be for sale. So we do need people to help out. We do need to contribute. We also need the old like, tag, and subscribe, okay, on our Facebook pages, on our YouTube, on everything like that.
See, I got a like for the beanie. So there. And thank
And
you,
with
Nana.
that,
It's my nan knitted it, so it's sort of
Thanks,
like,
Nan.
I know it looks ugly as shit, but yeah, I love it. It's awesome. It keeps my ears warm.
have a wonderful week. Don't miss the replay, of course, on Sunday of the Greater Wealth. It's Edge Radio Australia.
Go the Dockers. We're on the webcam. Cool. Hey Josh, while you're there, just let us know how clear is the webcam's mic. I'm trying to decide if we actually get another in-studio microphone or not.
I need to drive down to Swanbourne to buy another mic.
Buy another mic. Yeah. Not to clear out anything. So yeah, we do need a proper. I'm thinking of using the shotgun mic. We'll set it up.
That's a much better idea, yeah. We'll do a shot.
For the social.
So just
Or maybe even fire it, have it behind there, so it just takes it in the corner. That'll work. That'll work. For those who are watching on socials, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And like we were sort of saying before, if you can, if you hear me, yeah, if you can like, share, and all that sort of thing. It's so important. Like everything, costs are just going up and up and up and up. Yeah, quite frankly, it's yeah, we need your support to keep doing what we do, and try and bring, as I say, honesty, integrity, and all sides. Yeah, thanks, mate.
He's back. He's back. You can tell he's been doing other things.
And I can't live on bloody home brand Dim Tims for life. So
I remember my brother, like when we were teenagers, we used to skate and we actually had a quarter pipe at home. Yes, I could land kick flips and all that sort of shit. So what happened is one of our mates, Tyron, his rails got caught up on the coping, and so the skateboard stayed up there. He went down. Oh, this was a 6 foot quarter pipe, so it wasn't small. Anyway, so needless to say, he had his chin on the bottom of the ground, like 17 or 18 stitches across the bottom of his chin.
Yeah.
And so the only ice we had for his broken wrist was actually a cheap home brand Dim Sims.
There
So
you
that's what
go.
we used as an ice pack, and we ate them that night for dinner because I was defrosting and we couldn't cook them again. So yeah, so
I love
Tyron, legend, awesome.
I've just defrosted my big freezer.
I hope
Good luck with that.
119 litre one.
Oh,
And
yeah.
The
it
kids
had
were
like-
making water balloons, right, and freezing them overnight, and one of them burst in there, which created about an inch, about a centimetre thick of tiles of ice on the
Nice.
bottom of my freezer. So I was like, okay, we're going to defrost this now.
Yeah, now it's time.
So I have to ask, why were your kids making frozen water balloons?
Because I saw it on YouTube, right, that you could get a waterfall, you could make huge ice blocks.
Yeah.
And so they're making these massive ones.
So you know water balloons you're supposed to throw at each other
Yes, I know, but they decided they wanted to freeze it.
and throw it at each other?
No,
No,
they
okay.
just wanted to make a big ice block. And one of them burst in my freezer and big defrost job.
Bit of a mess.
Mm.
Nice.
So Josh was thinking the same as me. He said they hurt more. So
What's that?
the frozen water balloons.
Yeah, they do.
All right. Awesome. I'm going to bring down the stream. Thank you, ladies and gents, for being on. Again, like, share, and all that other jazz.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
You know what's really scary? We never got copyrighted today.